I'm Kayleen. Welcome to my channel. I thought I'd be a little cheesy and show you my kitty. Sometimes I see other YouTubers with their pets, so I'm trying to attract you to my pet. This is Mandy. I started this channel to promote my book called Mom Remembers Me, about how I used my health and fitness knowledge to stop my mother with mild dementia from forgetting me. I say that so often to people. But I have a chapter in my book of how I compare my cat to my mother. It's a very funny chapter, but let's move on. Okay, so what I also do on this channel, talk about health and fitness and caregiving, but I've also started doing graphic book reviews, especially graphic memoirs. So I saw this book at the library. I highly recommend the library. So here's a little thing for Santa Clara County Library. I live in Northern California. This is A Look Again by Elizabeth Tremblay. So it says in here specifically that I can show parts of her books for reviews, so I don't have to email her publisher to get permission, but I have done that for my 1984. If anybody has an opportunity, go back and look at one of my videos on 1984, because I reviewed 2 different graphic adaptations of it, as well as the movie, from old movie, not too old, 1984 movie. It was actually, parts of that movie was actually filmed during 1984. There's one specific date in the book too. So again, back to this. I'm going to review this now. Keep on listening, please. And if you want, I'd really appreciate more subscribers. I won't tell you to hit the alert button, because I know everybody doesn't need an alert. But if you get a chance to, if you like caregiving and graphic books, and I really have learned to really love graphic books. I started reading a lot of graphic books to steal ideas and to learn the whole genre and the whole medium. So I really enjoy reading graphic books now. Well, here I am again. I showed you what I look like in the beginning. I always kind of like to want to see what people look like. So I showed you what I look like, even though I wasn't doing any makeup and all that horse shit. So back to this review of this book, by Look Again, by a memoir by Elizabeth Tremblay. So I wanted to start off. First of all, I absolutely love her dedication to everyone who wonders if they have a story worth sharing. You do. And that's kind of what I put in my book. If you have anything to learn, writing a book will teach you a lot more than you ever thought. So I read in this book called The Zen of Art that no matter what, someone will learn from your story. So tell your story. So if you have something out there that you're kind of been mulling around, do it. And plus, even if you don't publish it, you'll learn a lot from just writing it. So let's see if I jump over. So this is a story about Elizabeth Tremblay, who was walking in the woods with her dogs, and then she found a dead body hanging up in the tree, which was apparent suicide. And what I find really, really interesting in this book, that's also relevant for me for taking care of my mother with mild dementia, is just memory. So she goes over 4 different variations that she kind of remembers, and then there was plenty of times when she went and got her hair done after she found a dead body, and she completely forgot about that. Her hairdresser told her about that. So it's just really, when the neurological test, by the way, that they give the elderly for Alzheimer's, I have been trying to find any scientific data for that, and I can't find it. There's plenty of psychologists and essays listing the positives and the negatives of the neurological tests, like the 3-word recall and the cube drawing, but I can't find any actual studies where they take people and see how that relates to your cognitive functioning. So this is when she is right after she sees the dead body hanging up in the tree. So there's her art is at first I didn't really like her art, but I got used to it, and then I began to like it, and it does really fit this story perfectly. You don't really want any colors for what her story is. I normally really like colors, so I wanted to show you some of that, and then show you guys some of the questions that I have. Oh, and then, so I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of times in my life as a teacher too,
I am completely flummoxed by so many people's insecurities. And of course, those insecurities somehow we were brought up with that by somebody else. So throughout this book, she has 3 characters in her mind just feeding her insecurities. So she has a dragon, she has which looks kind of like a sideways. It makes me think of Egyptian birds, and then she has this little pickle. But she spends a lot. They preach to her and make her be nervous and about everything and don't talk. So when she was walking with her dogs in the woods, she didn't have them on the leash, so she was totally nervous about that, which I don't think that the police would have really spent time doing that. I guess they probably do, but I don't think it would have happened here. So I think some of her insecurities, I think as someone who teaches yoga, you just have to, I know it's easier said than done, but if you stop, and I'm not saying I don't have those insecurities that pop in my head too, but I stop them. I go, no, backspace, delete, and I don't let those insecurities, I delete them out of my brain. So here's the picture, one of her pictures that she drew of the dead body that committed suicide in her book here. So you can see that art. It makes her think, and then she was really surprised how there was fast food next to where she found the dead body. And of course, that person that killed themselves put themselves there on purpose, which in a way you feel it's inconsiderate of that person to know that they're going to be doing that to somebody, but yet they want to be found. They don't want to be left out there for the animals to eat them. So it is kind of back and forth, right? Oh, and then she also points out that, people are kind of confused with her behavior, but people expect rational behavior after an irrational experience. So I don't think that anybody should be mad at yourself for whatever your behavior is after anything like this. You don't know what your brain's going to do and how it will protect itself. Your brain's always going to protect itself. So then she has, after she found the dead body, she doesn't have a cell phone. This happened in the late 90s. So she had to go and drive and look for somebody with a phone. So I'm moving up here just for the questions I have. And then sometimes I really found her insecurities as irrational myself, but people's insecurities are what they are, sometimes can be their best friend, correct? So I just wanted to point that out. Please don't be mad at me. It's just my thoughts. And here, moving on to talking to her voices. Oh, and this is something I wanted to share with everybody. So she talked to her father, and her father was a psychologist. And her father just said, don't let there be any kind of a connection between herself and the dead body, because I guess it sounded like he knew that she was maybe stew over it. So I wanted to share with you readers that her father didn't tell her how to not do and not let that bother her. And my father, my entire life, used to always say, Dad, he used to say, don't be so thin-skinned. Let it roll off your shoulder. And I was always asking my father, how, Dad? And as I've gotten older, I realized you just do. You just tell yourself, I'm not going to let that bother me. Maybe sometimes you have to chant to yourself to stop the other negative self-tape from going on and on, but you just stop those thoughts and say you're going to and start replacing with positive affirmations. Everything will be fine. You sing Bob Marley, every little thing's going to be all right. Sorry, I can't sing, folks. So I just wanted you to realize that it is tough, but you can change your mindset, and which I always try to tell my students to flip their brain. When they first say to me, what if I fall on my head when I ask them to do a push-up? And I'm like, what if you don't? Oh, and I wrote, this was a great page. Unless the first 2 versions of the story, Variation 3, lasted for years and got told to many, many people, this class. And then she's actually turned out, she didn't tell us till this Variation 3 that she was actually a teacher of English writing, creative writing. She wanted to help, especially to her creative writing students, I wanted to help these young writers understand how the human mind could move in an unexpected ways, which is true for everybody. Not everybody's going to stick to a a path or a flow chart. Everybody's going to be different, so I really like this. And then over here, oh, I already mentioned this before. The body was meant to be found. That person didn't want to just be out in the woods and not found, but they wanted to be found, which was kind of cruel to anybody else, but I think it just happened to work out that way, right? So here, will she tell us? Oh, she was so nervous about, will she tell us the time before she did this hike? Oh, yeah. She never did say how long before the time when she found the dead body and how many days before that she was actually hiking. So she might not remember at all, but I was just kind of curious to know how many days it had been since she had hiked that, because she mentions that she did hike that hike often. But was it murder? She kept asking herself constantly, was it murder or suicide? But in the end, the police told her it was suicide. And I just asked my question. Now we know why he picked that spot, because it was a regular spot. He didn't want to be out there, the gentleman that killed himself. I don't see her reaction as bizarre. Oh, yeah, so I don't see, she's explained to her English writing students that she thought her behavior was bizarre, and I don't think that her behavior was bizarre. That's just my personal opinion, because you don't know knows what's going to happen, how your body will react in your mind and will protect itself. And yes, we cannot trust our memory. How many times do people discuss with family about an incident that they all probably fought about for 40 years, and they all have a different rendition of what actually happened, right? And she's talking to her students and explaining and giving them an idea. I remember reading and maybe seeing in extras in one movie where the writers were talking about it, and the one person, her parents always taught her that whatever happened to her, all negative experiences can be turned into writing. You can learn how to write. And then she does end this book by saying drawing helped her memory too. So they don't really challenge the elderly to draw. They have them do the cube, which my mother did fine with that, but she didn't like doing it. But drawing, I keep thinking that I think just trying to draw a familiar image and just keep trying to draw it without any reference would be a good brain trick. And I might see if I can develop an app myself for that. Anybody want to help me with that? Oh, so this is back to all art helps. See, all art helps. And this is actually part of my book about my mother. I really think you should use art to help you with caregiving. And if your caregivee already has some form of art, maybe learn their art and you learn art together. So art always helps, right? This was kind of fragments of her memory years later. Oh, and I really liked, so she mentions this, and I actually quote this guy in my book, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It is a very interesting, enlightening book, and I did learn some of this when I was in massage school. All of life's experiences are manifested in your body, and that's what a lot of his book is all about, giving examples of that. So this is so write a book and you'll learn a lot. And she's glad she wrote it, and I'm glad she shared it. So thanks for listening to Look Again, a memoir by Elizabeth Tremblay. I'm Kayleen. I hope you get a chance to like and subscribe and ask me questions. I would love to have questions. Thanks.